Hello and welcome to Fiber Town. This is episode 106. It's the 9th of April, 2015. I'm Emily. Welcome to Fiber Town. You can find me on Ravelry as Chain of Fools and Fiber Town with an R-E on the blog at fibertown.blogspot.com and on Instagram as Fibertown. And I'm on iTunes and YouTube, so welcome. The group on Ravelry is Fiber Space Town Podcast, if you're having trouble finding that. I hope you have found it and introduced yourself. I have a few people to introduce today. I have, Kristen from North Carolina. She is a knitter first and foremost, but she also spins and crochets. Then we have Valkyrie, who is Sue from my neck of the woods in Northern Virginia. And she mentioned to me a yarn store that I've never been to. I'll have to get over there sometime. Not too convenient to me, but I like to check them all out. Then we have Knitter Mom 9, who is Lisa from Georgia, and she found Fibertown through the Carolina Fiber Girls podcast, so thanks for coming over. And then there is Asteride, who is an Italian living in Portugal. So she loves Ravelry and nice yarn. So do I. We already are like best friends, so thank you all for saying hello. Alice is here with me today. I'm going to see if I can get her to do some tricks today because she has a new one. And you guys haven't seen her in a while. But again, it's cold, gray, and yucky, and she's not amused at all. Yeah. So we'll have to see if we can perk her up. Let's see. Let's see if we can perk her up with some cookies. She loves cookies. Wow, not even cookies? Do you want to get a cookie and do a trick? Okay. Stand up. This is her jar of cookies. Oh, here we go. Yeah, now we've piqued her interest. All right, let's see. Ow. Sit down. Now, if you are wearing earbuds, this is fair warning because she talks. We've taught her to talk. Let's see if she'll do it. Speak. She's working up to it. Speak. There we go. Good girl. She has to work up to it sometimes. If she's been asleep or whatever. Let's see if she'll do another one. Can you? Ready? Sit down. Speak. Distractions. Come on. Sit down. Speak. Good girl. You're going to fall off the couch. My talented girl, Alice. There is a rumor that the new royal baby is going to be named Alice if it's a girl. Since it's a rumor, it's probably not true. But wouldn't that be awesome? If that happens, I'm going to dress her up in like a baby stuff and take a picture of her. Okay, go away now. You had 2 cookies. They were yummy. Can you twirl? You'll fall off the couch if you twirl. You've seen her twirl. All right, back to business. Sorry about the Atlas shenanigans. She'll probably bug me for a while here. Okay, so we have got some giveaways happening. The Donna Druchunas giveaway is up for one more week. I forgot to mention last week that you need to go and visit her Pub Slush campaign, and the link is in the show notes on Ravelry. And favorite it, please. Please favorite it. Retweet it, Instagram it, that would be great. Just to get the word out because it's really cool, and just by the things that you all have said so far that you've found out on that page, it's really, really worth a viewing. Okay, thank you. All right, so the Autism Awareness Cal is going on April, May, and June, through the end of June, and the prize this month is this skein of self-striping, Desert Vista Dye Works, and Poodle Skirt. And basically, the requirements for entering are my typical FO of the month requirements. Has to be a finished project. However, if, like in the Pen Hook and Needles podcast and Undead Yarn podcast and Nicolo's World, who are the other podcasts doing this cal, that it is mostly bright colors, you can enter it a second time. And I will leave that up to you to decide. I mean, we're all adults, mostly. We're all knitters. Maybe there's some kids. I don't think so, but, use your best judgment. I'm not going to say yay or nay. I mean, if you post something that's all gray or brown, I'll be like, hey, wait a minute. But I don't like to put too many rules and parameters on my, oh my gosh, she's nuts now, on my cows because I did it once and I kind of regretted it. It was a sweater cal and I didn't allow people to do kid sweaters and I felt like, why did I do that? It just felt wrong and exclusionary and nitpicky. So ever since then, I've tried to relax about it, and it's much more fun that way. So yeah, you guys can chatter in that thread too. And so far, there's some great things. And if you have a big question about weather, it doesn't have to be multicolored. It just has to be brightly colored. Okay? Okay. So no neutrals, or neutrals at a minimum, 25%-ish. If it's 30%, that's okay. All right. So that said, we are moving on to the Jones Street giveaway. Alice, do you like the yarn? All right, whoever wins the yarn, it will have been sniffed by Alice. Yeah, it's your name. Okay, let's see if we can get a good color shot. It's dark today. I have some light. It's just stunning. This is Jones Street Sport in the emerald colorway. 60-30-10 alpaca merino, superwash merino, and silk. And now apparently my arm is delicious. Do you want to know who won this? I bet you do. Alice really does. The winner was, let me just show you the random number generator so we can have things up front because this was, I know, a very sought after giveaway. The random, thank you for kissing me, was number 13, lucky number 13, who was Zukila. She's from Texas, I think. Contact me. Give me your address and your full name, and I will send this in the mail to you. You will receive the bounty that is Copper Corgi Jones Street Sport. You are in my face. Oh my gosh, she's like resisting. Okay, so that is very, okay, come here. Very exciting stuff. Congratulations. I wish I could give you all a sweater quantity of this, or at least a skein, but I have a little thing to tell you. The Carolina Fiber Girls, excuse me, is an awesome podcast. It's how I found out about Copper Corgi. Janice and Anne are awesome, and you should check out their podcast. Very worthwhile, and every single month they have a different sponsor with coupon codes and so forth. And all I'm going to say is there may or may not be a coupon code for Copper Corgi on their podcast. You would have to listen to it to find out for sure, but it might be worth a try. So if there's something that you just want to have, go listen to the Carolina Fiber Girls. Okay? All right. Have you calmed down enough? So today, what do we have in store? We have 0 FOs. Is that a bad hand gesture in some countries? I'm sure it is. 0. The number 0. We have 0 FOs. We have works in progress. So let's do that now. But then we also have spinning acquisitions and an Ask Fibertown. And then we have 2 interviews today. We have Roan Strong. I just bit my lip out. And Anna Zilborg. So I will talk more about them at the end, and they'll be edited in. And that's the last of my History Unwound interviews. I hope you guys have enjoyed them. Yeah, send me your feedback. Okay, works in progress. I have a hoe. Can I let go of you now? You're not going to walk all over me and lick my arms? Okay. Let's put this guy on sock blocker. This was a pretty fast knit for me, and I really enjoyed it. This is the No Pearl Monkeys by Cookie A and modified by Crafty Pancakes. This is the Fiber Nymph base. I love how the toe came out. It's so awesome. The Fiber Nymph base in Soft Kitty. This is her merino nylon. And this was fun. I knitted on US 1.5, 2.5 millimeters. There's a twisted rib at the top, and then my usual heel construction. I forgot to do the double gusset again. The next pair. So very, very fun knit, and it fits like a dream. Like, Like this heel always fits me really well. I guess I have a somewhat high arch on my foot. Not too much, but I'm not flat-footed by any stretch of the imagination. So I know heels are a very personal thing, but if you have an arch, a pronounced arch in your foot, check out the Riverbed Gusset or the Double Gusset because they are great. So got to get the second one going. And then I have my sock yarn blanket, and it's over here. It's getting big. Well, sort of. What do we have this week? I actually went a day without knitting a square. Oops. It was when I was casting on my new sweater. But we have this lovely, and this lovely, and this lovely. And this was dyed by me out of my lamb's fleece samples. And this is a Socks That Rock. I did my first Collie Wobbles pair out of this colorway. It's Water Lilies and Socks That Rock Lightweight. This was my Cloud Lover Haunted Vineyard handspun. I like it. Came out well. I wasn't crazy about the handspun, but that one is nice. And then this little two-toned pink guy. And that is it for the week. Although I forgot to show this one off last week. This is a sort of a sportish weight 50/50 merino silk. I knit a vitamin D out of this, and I can't wear it very much. It's so retina searing. What was I thinking? I don't know. It was fun to knit. I liked it. It'd be a great pattern for the Jones Street. So speaking of Jones Street, in my Jan B Smiley bag, who has a really cute Vespa fabric now in her shop. Oh, I want it. Check it out. It's like a limited edition. I think she got it in Italy. Super cute. I love her bags. Anyway, in my bird bag, and I went to Joann's today, and I found this fabric, and it was on sale, and I may have gotten some for a messenger bag for me. So, yes, so my Jones Street Sport in the fig colorway, I swatched to see if I got gauge for Hitofude, or Hitofude, and I did get gauge, and I paid a little more. Let me see if I can show it to you back here. I paid a bit more attention to this swatch than I usually do because I was substituting yarn weights even. But this, I feel like the Jones Street Sport is a fairly, it's a sport, but because my gauge is on the tighter side, I think I can knit fingering weight patterns out of sport in general, and I got gauge right away. And this is not showing. That's a little bit better. Excuse me, my daughter said this looks like fox faces. Kind of does. So this is a paid for pattern. I cannot remember. Just hit myself in the face with my swatch. I cannot remember the designer's name, but I attempted it once last summer out of a linen, 100% linen. That was a bad idea. That was never going to happen. And I've since destashed the linen. I hope the person who got it is enjoying it. I could just never figure out what to do with it. It's an impulse buy. Anyway, I have cast on the Hitofude, and doesn't it look good so far? As Jan B. Smiley said, the promise and potential of a new cast on. Yes, you can tell that there's a provisional cast on in the works. You have actually two separate provisional cast-ons at the beginning, and I'm not clear why yet, but I'm just following the pattern. So I'm into the second repeat here, and I have to do 14 repeats to begin, and then that is folded in half. The provisional cast-on is taken out, and you do a 3-needle bind-off, and it's basically your shoulders and your sleeves. Then you pick up the skirt, so to speak, and the fronts, and do the rest. So I think this is going to be really great. The swatch is nice and drapey, and it's a very, it has alpaca in it, so it's warm, and so I feel like a little lace would not be amiss with this kind of. I would be able to wear it for more of the year, during more seasons. And I don't think it's going to take the whole lot that I have, so maybe, I can do a shawl out of the rest of it, or even a mama vertebrae, perhaps. So has captured my attention. I'm well into the sort of the new sweater knitting mania. Okay, so that's it for works in progress. As for spinning and weaving, I have the same scarf on the loom. I haven't been paying much attention to it, which is rare for me. Usually when I get my loom warped, I am on that thing. I want it done. I want it off the loom, but not this time. However, I have spun this little bit of craziness. I don't know if you can see. This is my Rambouillet from Reflections at Rocklands. This is 2.5 ounces of a 3-ply. Do you want to know the yardage? 400 yards of a 3-ply, a true 3-ply. I calculated if I spin it all like this, how many yards I would get out of the pound. Actually, it's about 17 ounces, about 2,500. So I have more than enough. Oh my gosh. So yeah, that's a 3-ply. And there are parts of it I'm less happy with which I am less happy, to speak correctly. And I guess, you know, I put a kind of tight ply on it because it's Rambouillet. So parts of it, the parts that are a little under plied, displease me, and I'm looking for one of them right now and not finding them. Or not plied as much as the rest, like maybe right there. That's too thick. And it's very spongy and it just needed more twist. So, but I don't want to run the whole thing back through because most of it is very tightly plied. And it's Rambouillet, so it's super stretchy. It's spongy. It smells good. So Reflections at Rocklands, they have fabulous fiber. Their Border Leicester, I've spun the Border Leicester, their Cormo, and their Rambouillet. I think those are the 3 breeds that Kate Bostek, I think Bostek is her last name, and her sheep always place very high, especially her Cormos and Rambouillets, place at the major sheep festivals for fleece. She's got great animals. So I'm gonna be, I don't know what I'll do with this. I need to sample it. I'll probably put some in my sock yarn blanket. So what else do we have? Oh, my Rhinebeck fleece is all washed. I had a couple of nice days this week. Here it is. It's half of it. The rest is still drying, but every little bit has been washed. And this, I wonder if I have any to show you. Let me feel around in here. This sheep was in some massive burrs, okay? Massive plant material in here. Not widespread. It's pretty clean, actually, but where the sheep was into plants, it got these huge burrs like this big on them. I can't find any, but so this is a Rambouillet Corriedale cross, which that just intrigued me. And let me see if I can get a good example of these short little locks. There's a blocky little lock. They're very blocky. There's the Merinos, the Cormos, like little rectangles. I don't know if you can see the crimp. Probably not very well. It all looks like fuzz, but in this darker area, it's just like somebody took not a waffle. What were those irons that you used to put on your hair? Crimping iron. A crimping iron for the crimp. That's what it looks like. It's a really nice fleece, and it's this dark chocolatey brown yumminess, and I've tried combing it. It's nice. It's not very long though. It's, let's see, just shy of 3 inches, probably about 3 inches. But I'm glad to have it all washed. So I've had fleeces on my mind. I've been working with them. I've been sampling, and it's a lot of fun. So just, you know, with Maryland Sheep and Wool coming up, there are like 800 fleeces there just in the fleece barn, not counting vendors that bring their own fleeces and sell them in their stalls. And there's such a variety, much more than at Rhinebeck, I find. So I'm glad all my current fleeces are washed, at least. So yeah. I was able to get most of it washed on Easter Sunday because I was not using my kitchen to cook. We grilled something, and then I made some baklava, and we took those things to my mom's house, and she did most of the cooking. So my kitchen was free, it was sunny, so it was a great day for washing fleece. Okay, acquisitions. This viewer, Pandasita, she is from Seattle, and I'm trying not to show the address here, but I had to look at it. She said, I want to send you something. And I thought, she was going to send me some scraps. And so she got my address, and I got this box in the mail, and made my day, made my week. It was full of unexpected goodness, and it's just the best thing. The best thing about being a podcaster is the contact with you guys. And I'm not saying send me stuff. I'm not saying not send me stuff, but it's just, the back and forth we have on Ravelry or Instagram. And then something unexpected like this is just so nice. Little stanker for your Bodacious Boston. She sent a cookie for Alice. So I haven't given it to her yet. I was saving it for today. But she did in fact send me mini skeins. Look at this adorable bundle tied with a little gingham ribbon. And let's see, we have some really beautiful things I haven't tried. This is Handmaiden Casbah sock and Red Fox. I love that one. Love it. Silvers and burgundies. Hey, somebody's here. My people are home. This is Ruby Sapphire Yarns in Jaya. Isn't that beautiful? Purples and greens. This one is Little Red Bicycle. Hipster sock in Shoreline. And then we have, what's this? Blissful Knits Ambrosia MC and Fingering in Framboise, which means raspberry. And then the last one is Ancient Arts Fiber Crafts. Intuit Art. I think that might be my favorite. Hey, doll. My commuters are back. My son is at a friend's house. Oh, I forgot to show you something else. Hey, ignore me, I'm podcasting. She sent me some hazelnuts, which I love, and that is native to the Pacific Northwest. Nickel. Beautiful, beautiful. And then, oh, this one is stunning. Violetta and Fiberspace. I love this. Fiberspace is having a hazelnuts trunk show before and the weekend during Maryland Sheep and Wool, so I'm going to have to go and try not to spend my sheep and wool budget. She sent some coffee, which I've been drinking. It's delicious. She's from Ballard, Seattle. It's a cute card. And she goes on and on. More hazelnuts. This is Entice, which is an MCN. This is insane and just beautiful. And lastly, she sent, this is awesome, Big Alice Dyes. How gorgeous is that? This is a 50-50 merino silk, and it's purples in this bronzy color that I adore. Ugh, this is called A Nod to the Violets. I've never heard of Big Alice knits, but I can see why I needed this. So, Alice, she sent a dental chew for Alice. Let's see if Alice likes it. Come here. You want to see? You got another cookie. Do you like it? Oh, she likes it. All right, let me untie it. Hang on. Don't be all up in my grill. Oh, I should have untied this. Stop it. Go on. Leave it. being so good. Are you a good dog? You are a good dog. Oh, baby. Oh, it's a little, like, lizard, alligator. You like alligators? Ooh, what do you have on your face? Ew. Gross. All right, sit down. Let's make you speak for it. Sit down. Speak. Not shake. Shake. Speak. No, you didn't do it yet. Speak. There we go. Is it yummy? Don't eat it all, okay? There we go. All right, go have it. See you later. Okay, so the last pseudo acquisition is some dyeing that my daughter and I did over the weekend. And, oh, I forgot to show, this is one of them. We did some jacquard dyeing with a cone of yarn that my Fiber Fairy godmother gave me. And we used the cone of yarn, and we wound off 10-gram balls. And this is 5 grams left over. And we just had a blast dyeing things. So this was, again, this past weekend when I was also washing fleece and not using the kitchen to cook. It's this one. I forgot to mention I did that one as well. It's very cute, and it's a very cute, like, Easter egg dye. It was not Easter egg dye, but it looks like it. Then there's this one. This was a different base. Browns and blues. I dyed that one. And I'm going to be bringing half of these to Maryland Sheep and Wool to hopefully trade with you. Trade little mini balls, mini skeins. Then there's this one. This one came out very pretty. You can see the ties on it. Reds and whites and purples. Then there's this one. Let's see. Random colors. And I dyed this one. I love the chartreuse color. The chartreuse and browns and darker greens in here. Ooh, I think this one might be my favorite. It's like a muted rainbow. Love it. And which ones did my girl do? Okay, this is the last one I did. Purples and browns. Love purples and browns together. And then my daughter Gabby did this amazing saturated blue and green. This one, which is turquoise and purple and some white spots too. And this one, which is mostly warmer tones, reds and browns. So that was super fun. Okay, we have an Ask Fibertown. Excuse me. And that is from Whimsical Meerkat. And let's see. She asked about weaving. I'm hoping to buy a loom in the next year. How would you suggest going about choosing one? I've used a shocked cricket and I learned I love weaving, but I'm not so sure about the loom. I've seen but not used an Ashford Knitter's loom and find it intriguing, given the combination of size and portability. I've also heard good things about Kromsky. Is this like a wheel where I need to try different ones until one clicks? Any advice on where to go for recommendations and reviews? I have a 15-inch shocked cricket, and I like it fine. But I wish I had a bigger loom. I would love to have a 24-inch loom. I would love that. I think there's a Kromsky that's under $300, I believe, that's bigger. But the reason I didn't do that is because you need to buy a stand, or it's a good idea to buy a stand to put them on, and that's another bunch of dollars. And then there are the floor looms, or the table looms, I'm sorry. Table looms, well, there are floor looms too, but those get quite expensive. Table looms that are bigger and like 4-shaft, I think. I'm not an expert at this at all. I know that Knit Country, she is a weaver and has been for a while. She might be a good source of information. I don't know really where you could try different looms, except perhaps Maryland sheep and wool. I know that Craftsy they have a rigid heddle loom class, rigid heddle weaving, and they also have a floor loom class. And I know that in the rigid heddle class they have two different looms, the Shocked, Cricket, and then there's a Kromsky as well. So you could look at them being used in those classes, and you can get them for relatively cheap, the classes, and see if it looks like something you would like. Other than that, I don't know a good resource other than potentially a guild in your area. And then as for buying, you could try the Maryland Sheep and Wool auction. I hear that there are lots of good buys to be had on looms there. So, in fact, I'm hoping to get myself a triangle loom at that auction. If I can't get someone to sell me theirs. I want a 7-foot triangle loom. And I'd love to buy it privately and not have to deal with the auction, but you might be able to get good deals at the auction. And you might be able to get good deals at the end of a big wool festival, like on a Sunday late, when people don't want to take the equipment home with them. You're more likely to get a good deal then. But as far as finding out resources, let me know if you guys have any thoughts about it. If you are a weaver, my experience is limited to that. I don't know if I'd really want to travel with my loom. I feel like the warp might get messed up. Another loom that intrigues me is a Saori loom, because you can literally take warps on and off and have different projects going at different times. I don't know how it works, but that's really cool. And were I to get another bigger loom, that might be the one I would get. But yeah, sorry. I hope that maybe some folks in Fibertown out there can give you some more information, because I'm not being too helpful. Okay, so the interviews you're going to see with we'll do Anna Zilborg first, and let me just say a few things. She is amazing. She was on her way out of the retreat, so I didn't get more than 8-10 minutes with her. But I have to say two things. Her buttonhole is a thing of beauty that you need to look at. I got to see them in person. She wrote Knitting for Anarchists, and the buttonhole is in that book, Knitting for Anarchists, which I highly recommend. And I feel like we share a lot of the same philosophies about knitting. But it's like nothing that you wouldn't even assume it's been knitted. It looks so crisp and clean and neat and nice. And next time I do a buttonhole, it's going to be an Anna Zilborg buttonhole. Next, she has a new book coming out pretty soon called Splendid Apparel, which is a quote from the Bible. Something about, I don't know, I think it's Old Testament, and something wearing our splendid apparel. And it is no joke. This is amazing stuff. It's original. It's like nothing I've ever seen before. It is embroidered knitting, which embroidery and knitting, they don't necessarily at first glance go together. But she has created something so amazing. I'm not exaggerating here. I saw these pieces in person. She finds ways to embroider in the cables and by twisted stitches, and they're stunning. Truly original, an aesthetic that is her own, and you guys need to check them out. I'll be getting this book, and this book will also have the buttonhole in it, the famous buttonhole. So I hope you enjoy our little bit of time with Anna Zilborg. And then we have Rowan Strong, who is a really cool guy. He is sort of a knitting historian, an amateur knitting, I think by his own admission, an amateur knitting historian. He loves, in particular, the Civil War, and he designs beautiful lace. He designs in crochet and knitting, and I really hope you enjoy the time with him. I'd never met him before, and got to hear a lot about his fiber world and what he's working on, and it's really, really cool. So enjoy the interviews and enter the Donna Druchunas giveaway. Check out her Pub/Fund page to publish an amazing Lithuanian knitting book. And yeah, I hope you guys enjoy, and I will see you. Looking for my mouse. Oh my gosh. Did Alice take it? All right. Here it is. You all take care. Bye-bye. All right. So, thank you. This is Anna Zilbor. Is it Anna?
Anna.
Anna. Okay. I had some viewers send in questions for you, and some of them relate to Colonial Williamsburg. And this is Heather from Massachusetts, and she wants to know if you have seen or been inspired by the Colonial embroidered pockets and samplers, and will you have a chance to see them when you're here?
Well, I'm afraid the answer is no.
Okay.
I'm afraid that I came and we've been fairly busy, and now we're heading home as soon as I'm through, and we're off back to the mountains again.
Lovely.
So it'll have to be another trip to Williamsburg in order to do Williamsburg.
To do that. I thought that was, I missed your lecture this morning, or yesterday morning, about women's work. That was one I really wanted to attend.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought the pockets are so, women wore them on the outside of their garments and strapped them on. And I thought that just tied in really neatly to your lecture material. And wondered if you could share just a little bit about maybe what you talked about yesterday.
Well, mainly I was not talking about anything quite that practical or physical with women's work, but rather I was talking about the nature of women's work being practical and being necessary and leading to cooperation rather than competition, basically.
Yes.
And particularly the sense of women making useful things and making them beautiful as being a way of being in the world, and something which I feel is not only lost but is necessary as the world has gotten not only smaller but less abundant in our sense of it being endlessly productive of what we want.
Excellent.
So that's mainly what I was talking about.
And now people have been admiring your new work, the Splendid Apparel.
My Splendid Apparel, yes. It comes, the reference is to a psalm that says, "Put on your splendid apparel." And it has to do with embroidering knitting, which I feel generally does not embroider well. It always looks stylized, and it always doesn't help the knitting in any way. And so I wanted to work embroidery in such a way that it would emphasize the knitting, that they would complement one another.
It's something I've not ever seen before. It's something, for me, looks very original.
Well, that's what's fun about it, because it does look original, and I'm so unoriginal. I have so little imagination. I mean, I have a very creative daughter, and so I can really tell the difference between a creative mind, which is constantly seeing new things, constantly thinking up new things, constantly imagining, and no, I don't have it. I'm a craftsperson. I like the craft. I like the craft of embroidery. I like the stitches. And so I want to use the stitches, and it's just a matter of doing it, and it's fun to have come up with something that people are saying, I've never seen anything like it before,
I think your daughter might have rubbed off on you, inspired you in some way that you...
Well, maybe it's just doing it enough until you start doing something else, or doing something with it. But I'm really very pleased with the way the embroidered knitting has come out.
I've been speaking with some people about the context of the retreat's history and sort of things that are passed down in families or cultures. And
was talking to Donna, and we brought up the concept of your legacy knitting. Is there something that you think, ooh, down the line, you know, Granny made this, or something that you're proud to have given or left?
I am proudest of my perfect buttonhole.
Yes.
I think everyone should make perfect buttonholes. I think that imperfect buttonholes wreck beautiful knitting. And I did figure it out all by myself. I mean, not all by myself, but it's, I mean, there isn't much I've done that's original, and that's fairly original. And yeah, but I'm happy to have things, you know, lost in the sands of time. I mean, what I'm feeding off is how many knitters, you know, and their knitters are anonymous. But who do we know? We know Elizabeth Zimmerman, because she's mother of us all in some ways. I'm happy to think that people are going to start embroidering knitting, and that they're going to make some beautiful things. And
it's not something I ever thought I would want to do
until
I saw your pictures and your sweaters.
Well, and people start doing it and find it fun too, you know, and I'm happy. I'm happy to have that. But you know, I don't feel a name needs to be attached to it. Actually, when I was doing the book, working with XRX did the book, and I knew I couldn't manage to do it myself because it's too much work to publish. And they were willing to, you know, let me work with them. And I realized as I was looking at proofs that they were sending me that they kept referring to Anna's perfect buttonhole. And I had been so supercilious about people who put their names on things. So I said, you've got to change that. You've got to get rid of that. You've got to get rid of that. I couldn't hold my head up if I had Anna's perfect buttonhole on it.
Well, the multitudes of knitters may make that stick. You never know.
Well, that's not my problem. It was calling my own attention to it. Look at me. You know, I said, no, I can't do that.
I recently taught 8 high school girls to knit. We did knitting and spinning, a little bit of weaving, and we did dyeing. So I can appreciate the satisfaction of making knitters. And they are properly excited.
Yeah.
And properly, you know, they're knitters with a capital K now.
Yeah, that's good.
I find them knitting in school, in the hallways, sitting on the floor in front of the lockers.
Oh, that's good.
Walking by proudly in their garter stitch cowls. So yeah, I think that's a wonderful legacy, so to speak.
Yeah.
All right, let me see if I have anything else to add for you. No, I think I'm done.
That's it.
I appreciate you just spending a few minutes. Yeah, I will definitely be editing this whole blurb out of me not knowing what to ask you next. There's not enough coffee in the world for me today.
It's, you know, the end of the weekend is a tired time. It's a tired time.
I appreciate you doing it, and thank you.
Thank you.
And okay, so I'm here with Ron Strong, right? Did I say your name correctly?
You did. Yes.
So the Fiber Town podcast viewers have sent in some questions.
Ooh.
So, but first, before we get to those, why don't you tell me a little bit about the class you're teaching this afternoon?
The class I'm teaching this afternoon is actually called the Scrappy Hood. It was actually a hood that appeared on a surgeon during the later half of the Civil War. He was a Confederate surgeon, and he's been written about multiple times, and it's very interesting. The fascinating part is the construction of the hood. It was actually done all in brioche stitch, which was very warm and very fluffy, and everyone liked it. And it's knit with scraps of fabric and yarn. And so it was something that towards the end of the war, as textiles were kind of cut off from the South, they didn't really have a way to, you know, get a lot of yarn in. So unfortunately, they used, I guess fortunately, not unfortunately, right? They used a lot of scraps and stuff like that. So it looks really colorful. It's really cool. So it's a lot of fun.
What's the name of the pattern? Is it available?
It's not. It's
Okay.
normally I just teach it in the classes.
Okay.
So it's only available in class.
Nice. So this seems like the perfect venue for you.
It is.
History,
I love it.
Unwound.
Yeah.
And
It's been the best weekend. It's been so much fun.
Good.
It's great to have a group of students that are literally here because they love history, which is what I love too. So.
and fiber.
Yes, and
Yeah.
fiber. Yes, that's more important.
So Carly wanted me to ask you about you have a new book coming out. Is that right?
I have a couple new
It's
books
just-
coming out. I have some crochet books coming out this kind of spring, summer.
Okay.
I never really know until the publisher's like, hey, it's
Yeah.
coming out next week. And I'm like, thanks, appreciate that. I'm actually working on a book about the Civil War that will come out in 2017. I like to give myself about a year to do research. So at about this time next year, when hopefully we'll have the same conference, I'll just be knitting the projects. And so the research will be done, then we'll start knitting. The research phase is my favorite. I get to travel a lot and go to different Civil War sites and stuff like that. So
I live fairly close to Bull Run.
oh, gotcha.
So,
That'd be fun.
yeah, so it's right there.
It's great to go to the small museums because the fascinating thing is that in these small museums, a lot of people don't know what the knitting is. They're like, oh, it's a pair of socks and a showcase. But to us, it's like, oh, look, that's interesting. It was knit toe up with a gusset. How awesome is that? So, no, that was actually knit. But still, it's very interesting to see. So
I noticed you showed a sock yesterday in your lunch lecture that
Yes.
had the closure. It wasn't Kitchener.
no.
It was just sort of a star.
Yeah, it was a
closure.
triple decrease, I call it.
Triple decrease.
I'm sure that there's a more technical, more proper vintage name, but the way the toe was done is that you just, one round, the number has to be divisible by 3. And it's great when you have a sock that's like, the gauge is 6 inches per inch, because then like,
The sport
always,
weight.
yeah, sport weight. It's always divisible by 3. Like as you go up in sizes, grading is so much fun. So when you get to the toe, you just divide it by 3, and then you work those stitches minus 2, knit 2 together, all the way around, and then you do one plain round, and you repeat that, and it gives you a more uniform kind of toe that's more comfortable. Where Kitchener wasn't really invented until the late, towards the end of World War I with General Herbert Kitchener. So
And that was for a military purpose too. He wanted a
It was.
seamless
he
toe.
wanted a seamless, comfortable toe. But at the same time, they did have other socks that were just pulled in at the end, but they said that hit the ends of the toes. So we wanted something that could be grafted towards the end, because men do have more sensitive feet than women.
Is that
So
right?
I have no idea. We're just more
If
sensitive.
you just say it with authority,
Yes, say
people
with
will believe
authority.
it.
Well, I had a conversation with Kate Etherly not too long ago where I said that I don't generally wear hand-knit socks. I really don't, because they like hurt my feet.
Really?
I don't like them. And she's like, well, you should do a tighter gauge. I'm like, well, if you do fingering weight yarn on size 0 needles, I'm getting 10 stitches to the inch, which is my average gauge. I have huge size 14 feet. So that means I'm casting on 110 stitches for one sock. That is insane. That is
No.
completely insane.
Wow. Princess and the Pea.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I know they're sensitive.
Well, great. Heather wanted me to ask you about the role of men in textiles and how it seems to be, how it sort of started out as at least knitting dominated by men. I don't know about weaving so much, and how do you think things are shifting or changing now?
Well, I think that although it was dominated by men at the beginning, it really kind of waned off as the world progressed, and I think it became more of a function, and it really wasn't that it was something that men necessarily didn't want to do. I'm sure there were some men that didn't want to do it, but I think that women really took it up and dominated it and made all of these amazing advancements because it was the only way that they could make money at the time. In a lot of cultures, that was, one of the only jobs because that was what they expected them to do. But what's amazing about it is that now we're at this place where I think men still in the industry, we're not as prominent as women, but we just don't care. I mean, it's like, come on, we're here to knit. We all like to do the same thing. We all like to knit, so there's no real need to worry about it, you know?
Now that I'm thinking about it, you must get tired of people.
I really don't. I mean, some people do. Some people are like, well, that question gets asked all the time.
Yeah.
The one question is, what does it feel like when you knit in public? I hate that question. The truth is that any knitter that knits in public knows that people stare. I just get a few more stares because I'm a guy that looks like a linebacker who has this little pair of needles and a pair of socks. But people start talking to me and they're like, oh, that's interesting.
Yeah.
And what's great is because I, look like a football player, right? I get these big burly men that come up and they're like, hey, what are you doing? And I'm like, well, I'm knitting. And they're like, oh, that's really cool. I wish I could learn how to do that, but I don't think my friends would let me. And I'm like, well, just do it at home. Just do it at home. No one will see you. No one will see you.
Closeted knitter.
Exactly.
Wow. So where did your involvement in textiles come from? Did it come, what's your background? How did you get started?
Okay, so I got started when I was really young. I was probably maybe 7 or 8 years old. I started crocheting. And then off and on throughout the years, I would crochet, I would knit, I would do all those different things, right? And then it was probably in 2011. I would say around 2011, right? I was watching this documentary by Ken Burns, which was so incredibly fascinating. And it was about World War II. And he said in the documentary that women on the home front used to do these things called victory gardens. And then they would have these victory scrap parades where they would literally go around town and say, give us your old tires or give us your old metal. And they would melt that down. They'd make tires for Jeeps and all that kind of stuff. And I was like, oh, this is cool. And I'm like, I wonder if they knit. Because my little brain in 2011 didn't know that there was like this whole history of wartime knitting. And from that moment on, I kind of delved deeply into wartime knitting. And I love it. It's interesting because I'm in these two very different niches. I mean, I do kind of kitschy crochet that's like really bright and fun and like really cool, and I love it, and I do new techniques and all that. But then when it comes to like knitting, I'm very much about like, it's quite solemn. It's, I focus on American, the history of American knitting, and primarily my focus has always been around Revolutionary War, Civil War, World War I, World War II. So, yeah.
Excellent. So you live in North Carolina,
Yes.
is that right?
Yes.
I seem to hear, I think there's a history of a crafting community there. And
Say so, yeah.
what is that school? There's a textile arts school and a lot of, woolen mill production. I wondered if you could tell us anything about the crafting community there. And just for example, I hear occasionally that there's a man in North Carolina who can make this part for my mill.
Yeah.
And he's the only one who can do it. And just if that's part of sort of the flavor of life in North Carolina.
Well, here's the interesting thing. North Carolina is quite large, and there's a large number of people that live there, right?
Right.
And I live in Raleigh, and I think our population, they said on the news, it's like something like over 1 million people, right? But Raleigh itself is so huge. And our population varies by something like 25% based on the time of year, because we're primarily engineering students that go to NC State, right? But the amazing thing is that there's the Textile School of North Carolina State University. And this textile school is incredible because not only has it produced wonderful fashion designers who have been on like Project Runway, but it's also produced a really thriving kind of art scene that happens. Silver spun, which is a new cotton yarn, I believe the cotton is grown in North Carolina as well, and then it's milled and spun at NC State.
Wow.
I believe the term for it is unprocessed cotton.
Okay.
It's so incredibly soft and so incredibly stretchy. and then there's like a thread of silver that runs through it. So it's
Silver.
antibacterial and it's antimicrobial, and it has all these like fantastic and amazing properties.
I think I've heard of this.
Yeah, it's new. Like I think
Yeah.
it's been out maybe a year and a half, which is in our industry like super new, right? Which is funny because I've only been doing this for 3 years. So, so yeah, I think that the community itself is quite interesting, and there's a lot of individuals. Esther Rogers.
Jazz Turtle.
Yeah, it's Jazz Turtle.
Yeah.
She lives like an hour away from me. And like she just started, I think I saw on Facebook this morning, she just started her own story studio. How amazing is that? Like
I follow her and
Yeah.
want to copy all her stories.
yeah, I know. Oh my God, her weaving is amazing.
Yes.
So yeah, she has that. I mean, and I think she's in Mebane. I had to say it right because in North Carolina it's Mebane. Everywhere else, if you saw it, you'd be like it's Mebane because there's an E at the end, so
Okay,
you're gonna pronounce
Mebane.
it A, but it's Mebane. I think she's from Mebane, if I'm not mistaken. But like we have SAF, which is one of the larger festivals right around Rhinebeck time.
Okay.
I really love SAF. It's the Southeastern Animal Fiber Festival, if I'm not mistaken.
I think, yeah, sounds right.
And there's a lot of Buffalo Wool Company goes, Beecher Basin Ranch goes, a lot of smaller people. They actually sell Angora rabbits, which I kind of want to take home one, but I live in an apartment, so it might not be applicable.
Have
I
you
have a
talked
dog.
to the Vermont knitter?
No, but I
Chris?
should.
Yeah.
Oh yes,
Yeah.
yes, Chris, yes. Was it
VT
Knitboy,
Knitboy?
something like that.
Yes,
Yeah.
he raises Angoras.
Yeah, Angoras, yeah. I live in a little tiny city apartment, so I mean.
Have a bunny?
Yeah, I can have. I also have a 100-pound lab, so
Aw.
he might not be too keen about the bunny.
Yeah, maybe.
He'd be like, "Hey, what is this? Oh, you brought me home a fluffy toy. Let's play."
Let's tear the stuffing out.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And then it's not much fun.
So, is there anything else you'd like to see in Colonial Williamsburg while you're here? Some of the folk art, like
I really would. What's really fascinating, and if anyone can ever stay here, I totally recommend staying here because the artwork on the walls alone is incredible. They have rugs that were latch hooked, like you can obviously
Yes,
tell that they're
yes.
latch hooked, and hanging on the walls outside of my hotel room. I'm sitting there taking pictures and like analyzing it, and I'm like, this is so fascinating. It'd be amazing to reproduce. They have a woven rug that has this. I'm guessing it was a rug. It's quite small outside, but we were just walking around, and if you take a tour of the Governor's Palace, I
Yes.
think it is, the largest one, they have large tapestries that are reproductions, right? And it's great to look at because we realized that the rigid heddle loom, that is what we normally would use, the smaller stripped, you can make long strips on it, they would have used a loom around the same size.
Huh.
Because the rugs that are all in Governor's Palace are made in strips.
wow.
And so they would have made them in that size and then sewn them together, which makes sense because the weavers who would have been of the poorer class would have been making them to sell to the richer class. They couldn't afford a barn loom or they couldn't afford a very large loom because their houses weren't as big, you know?
Right.
They didn't have an entire room to dedicate to. So we're walking around exclaiming about how excited we are. And I can't take credit for it. It was Allison, one of the other guests here. She was like, oh, what do you think? And so we're sitting there trying to describe about colonial, craft practices. And we got to see the sheep, which was kind of the only thing I wanted to see. And I got to buy some of the yarn, which is,
That's fabulous.
I love the yarn.
Can we see it?
Yeah.
People love to see stash.
I know, right? This is, I have no idea how much this is. By the feel of it, like you can feel it too. It feels like it's a worsted. Obviously, it looks like it might be a light worsted. And it probably feels like it might be like 220 yards around there.
And this was
That was dyed here, spun in Pennsylvania, I want to say.
nice. So this is some of the Leicester long wools that they
Yes,
have?
yes. The
Beautiful.
It's not, the wool is actually from Pennsylvania, but they raise the same sheep.
Okay.
Now this was from the actual sheep that are here. This is about 170 yards. It looks like it'd be a sport.
Mm-hmm.
I got 3 of those, and I got 1 of these.
What are you gonna make with?
I don't know. I'm thinking socks would be really great, right?
Yes.
Some Civil War
Very-
socks or colonial
For
socks.
someone else, not for you.
Yeah, definitely. Well, for classes, I like to.
For
I was
classes.
thinking it was good. It is. I mean, it's not entirely cheap, but
No.
it's worth it.
Absolutely.
I mean, to think like, and it smells really good too. It actually smells. You know what it smells
Smells like your soap, doesn't it?
Yeah, yeah, that's what I got.
I love storing
That's the
soap
soap.
with.
Oh my god. Oh, I just want to smell it out. I'm not gonna open it. I got pine and a couple other ones. There's some. Oh my god. I spent way too much money. She told me the total, and I was like, oh, okay, it's okay, it's okay.
It's okay.
I'm getting paid to teach. It's just one class. It's one class income, so that's okay. That's okay.
Perfection.
Yeah. So
Well, thank you so
Yeah,
much. Is
thank
there anything
you.
else you want to tell us about, or are we?
nothing
You
I
have
can
some
think
books
of.
coming out.
I do, but I can't tell you the names of them because I don't know the names of them because the publisher hasn't told me yet.
You have quite a lot of. You have a wrap store with a lot of patterns.
I do. I have a. I think we're almost at 200 patterns.
Wow.
We, as in we.
Me, myself, and
200.
I.
Yeah. We have.
The royal we.
Yeah, the royal we. There are. I want to say 200. Yeah, around there. Not all of them are for individual sale. A lot of them were for magazines. Right now, I don't really have anything that's coming out in too many magazines because this is the time of year where either you like go steam forward ahead for spring and summer of 2016,
Uh-huh.
but because I mostly do historical or inspired historical knitting, spring and summer is really not the time of year. And it's
Okay.
difficult to design when you live in the South for spring and
Ooh,
summer because
right.
we don't want to wear anything other than tank tops and very thin shorts.
Flip-flops.
Sometimes just the underwear and flip flops and because it's so hot. I think last
I
year we
hear
got up to
you.
like triple digits,
Ugh.
and so that's when you just turn on the AC as high as you can. And
As I said, I went to school in Williamsburg,
Yeah.
and you couldn't use metal clothes hangers
Yeah,
because
no.
everything would rust.
yes, the humidity.
The humidity.
The humidity is just,
insane.
and it makes you think like here in colonial Williamsburg, how were they able to live, dress the way they dress, do all the things that they did with it being as hot and humid as it is? But the houses were built for it. So if you ever walk into a house and you see the windows directly across from each other, that's why. Because the breeze comes in.
airflow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
All
yeah.
right. Well, thanks so
Thank
much,
you.
Ron.